When you look at the most financially secure people in your life, whether it's your relative or a boss or somebody, um, chances are pretty darn good they didn't get there from sitting behind a desk. They got there through real estate, creating wealth through real estate, and um, you know, all the naysayers, when interest rates started going up, all the naysayers said, well, we're just going to wait until the housing market crashes. It's not going to crash because we don't have any inventory. So it's going to continue. Um, it could go maybe flat, but we're actually seeing where the sale numbers are actually increasing again. So, and that's despite interest rates being the highest level that they've been in a very long time.
Right. Well, and even it's funny, I was looking at a chart with a realtor the other day of rates since the 70s, basically since the beginning of Fannie and Freddie. And the range was pretty much 18%. And I'm sure they went a little higher, but it's 18% down to, let's say, mid twos.
Mm-hmm.
So right now we're somewhere in the sevens.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 17, so that gives you some historical reference that somewhere in the sevens, yeah, maybe, if I took a month off from going to the gym, maybe I'm not as strong the first time I go back, but hey, I'm still pretty close.
Mm-hmm.
So, those historical lows, yeah, they were really nice, but it's funny how much the industry thought that was normal and that, hey, this is what we all need to have right now. But it just really did help people with affordability. And I really noticed that the interest rate difference, the interest rates make a much bigger difference than price.
Mm-hmm.
So, the rate going up a little bit is going to impact you a lot more than even the price going up 50 grand.
Mm-hmm.
As far as your loan amount is concerned and your qualification is concerned, how the equity plays out could be a little different, but so it's just sensitive out there. But I do think right now there's a lot of opportunity to maybe get an offer that's slightly less competitive when you go out there because less people are qualified.
Mm-hmm.
But we're still seeing offers come in pretty hot and people are still having to scramble to get into properties.
Yeah, multiple offers.
Yeah. Are you seeing that right now?
Absolutely. Yeah.
In I would say a high rate market, well, it's kind of weird. My thoughts on this are a little bit all over the place, but rates are going up compared to where they have been historically low.
Mm-hmm.
People think we have high rates right now. And a lot of my clients are concerned whether they should, try to get the best rate right now going into their mortgage. Should they pay extra fees to get a lower rate? Should they just take whatever rate they can get with minimal fees and then do a refinance later if rates drop? And I kind of feel like 50-50. I'm telling my customers, trust their gut on what they think the market might do. And I'm here to support them and present a couple of different options.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I do have some opinions on that. I would probably go for a lower entry cost right now and maybe see what refinance options are out there. But I don't necessarily know that the refinances are going to come, just like the rate drop of this year was supposed to happen 6 months ago.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on that?
Our job is really as kind of a tour guide through the home loan process to point out all the pros and cons to each side, and let the borrowers make their educated decision on it. But the market is also driving, the pricing where there just isn't that many low cost rate options out there. And it's pretty customary now to be paying over a point, both in origination and in discount. It's just kind of the way of the world. Nobody knows. The crystal ball is of course, cloudy at best. Even some of the best, real estate and mortgage advisors, around the country had all predicted that at this point in the year, we should be at 5.5% interest rates. And it's just not happening. This market is very stubborn in that regard. But I go back to the first vehicle that I financed, or the first house I bought, any major purchase that I've done in my life, even to this day, if I buy a new car, I don't, I'm still working, so I'm not, independently wealthy, and I need to work, right? So when you make a major purchase, there is the bit of that uneasiness in your stomach, but you know what? We all make it work. We make adjustments in our lifestyles to make those bigger purchases work. These interest rates, people want to focus on it. You brought up the rates that we had back in the 70s and 80s, early 80s, to be specific. it is what it is, right? Only the people that are of my age or maybe of your age even remember or you've heard these stories about interest rates in the 18%. To the average person,
Not even
that means
relevant.
nothing.
Yep.
Because everybody's been on this low interest rate high for so many years. And right or wrong, it's just the way of the world was a 2%, 2.5% 30-year fixed. And looking back on it, you're just like, wow, that's crazy that the systems pushed interest rates, that we spent billions and billions of dollars as a country to push mortgage rates down to those levels. And you still had people complaining about the interest rates, back then. So it's, but you make these purchases, you make the adjustments and you make it work.
Well,
I don't know what else to say
that's
about
where
it.
I get kind of tied up on being an advisor sometimes. It's like, how much do I go into strategy really? Because I've seen predictions that come true and some that don't.
Yeah.
And even to me, it's like, I don't really know how to follow this with any degree of certainty.
Yeah.
And so I don't know how to advise. And I don't want to tell my clients, oh, whatever, it is what it is. But that's also the truth.
Trying to predict interest rates, I used to think I was really good at it, right? My day would start at 6 a.m. I wake up and look up mortgage news daily. I'd look at Wall Street Journal online, and other sources, as well as, I would watch Fox News. I would watch CNN because you had to find the middle of what's actually going on in the news. And I felt I was really good about, if a customer said, is this a good time to lock? I could, with a high degree of reliable precision, tell them, what I thought and let them make up their own mind ultimately, of course.
Sure.
All that is gone. All the hours that I spent, monitoring things and tracking markets and this and that, everything's out the window. Nobody knows what the heck is going to happen. The margins between T-bills in mortgage-backed securities is the highest it's been in forever. No great explanation for that. There's no overpar. I mean, we're just starting to see overpar pricing, come into the markets, but I think, it's being driven by the secondary market, the investors saying, why do we want to do even a 7.5% loan for somebody that if interest rates drop a point, they're going to be gone off our portfolio.
Right.
So we better make our money up front on doing these home loans. So let's go ahead and charge some points. Let's get some money up front.
Well, and I think that was a big market realization through the last couple of years with crazy rates was that refinance speed.
Mm-hmm.
Payoffs early. Well, a lot of people probably don't know, but in that secondary market where loans are bought and sold, if that loan is paid off or refinanced within 6 months, the original investor doesn't get their payout. Yeah. Or they get a vastly significant payout versus the 30 years that they expected on that return. So that can be an issue that plays a lot of subtext under the market that causes other things to happen.
Yeah.
And when it starts getting that nuanced, I'm kind of like, okay, I'm going to have to get a chalkboard to explain this to anybody, and I can barely understand it. Yeah. So that's where I think I kind of always fall back on fundamentals. If you can afford it, we can qualify people up to almost half of their income. Should they be spending that much on their payment? Let's talk about it. Mm-hmm. Maybe you should be. Maybe you really need housing. Mm-hmm. Maybe you should look for something that's more the 30% mark. Anyways, those are discussions you can have as a consultant and really say, hey, does this fit into your budget? Not just, are you qualified for that? And that's kind of where I'm going back to saying, I can't really predict the future, but it's always, I think Keller Williams' owner said, it's always the right time to buy the right piece of real estate.
Yeah.
Well, of course, it's always the right time to do the right thing.
Long term, yes.
But it just kind of drives back to the factor, like we were saying earlier, you can manage your rate. If the rates don't get better, then, your housing is always going to be increasing in price. If rates do get better, you can snag that. So you can't really, you can go down to a lower rate if rates drop. So what I'm saying is you can only follow rates. And if rates go up, you have to follow them up.
Yeah.
So when it comes to trying to get your payment secured, I think seizing a snapshot of whatever the market is not necessarily ever a bad idea because you could always follow it down.
Mm-hmm. And there's something to be said for, as an example, last month in Thurston County, I think we sold 340, might have been 360 homes. typically during this time of the year, we should be at 600 homes, right? Easy 600 homes.
Mm-hmm.
There's no inventory. We still have multiple offers being presented on homes. So the market is still, I don't want to say it's red hot, it's pretty freaking hot, right?
I would say so, yeah.
But that's with interest rates in the sevens. Imagine what it would be like if interest rates were, all of a sudden dropped into the fours. You think you'd have competing offers? People are still amazed that we have competing offers with interest rates in the sevens. Imagine the chaos.
It would be a
lunacy.
Even if they went into the sixes, it would be crazy. Yeah. But if they went even further than that, it would be. And that's what people don't realize is now you got 30 offers going in on every house. And how do you, we've got some great tools. We work at different companies. We have different specialty products. We can really help you stand out, even at different companies. Yeah. But if there's 30 offers, I mean, come on. Yeah. It's going to take more than a scented resume to get you in there. So
good way of putting it.
That's when that's when I just want to keep getting the message across. And that's the whole point of this podcast. Mm-hmm. It's always a decent time to buy. Yep. Call somebody, see if you can afford it. We have mortgage calculators that we use. I also have a 12-month budget that I can share with people that's plug this payment into your existing budget and see if you can handle it with your car payments and your credit cards and all your other debt and all your other life too, daycare and all that other stuff that goes in there that might not be on your credit report, or maybe it is, and see if it really fits. Because I was just saying, just because you qualify, actually talk with your advisor and say, hey, does this actually fit my budget? Because we can see the whole picture and see what's really out there. And that's where I think we need to, really do our diligence and see where can we help. Mm-hmm. Sometimes somebody might be at a 699 credit score. And if you can say, oh, hey, this one thing you can do on your credit report, you'll be at 700. And then your pricing gets better and I can get you a better interest rate. So those are some small things that are always valuable.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I tell people all the time, especially the first time home buyers, chances are pretty darn good that we're going to be able to qualify you for more than you're going to be wanting to spend per month.
Oh, right.
Because it's, dealing with gross income figures instead of net income, it has always seemed backwards to me, right? And I don't know why the system was geared that way from the beginning. Why aren't we using net income? VA does a little bit with residual income, where that's such an important component to a VA loan. And the residual, of course, is how much money's left at the end of the month after you're done paying all your bills.
Right.
And if you don't meet the minimum, the 120% of what VA deems, reasonable for the residual income, that file's not getting approved.
Yep.
And that's I don't know. We're not here to reform, the home loan industry, but if I had to get off on a pet peeve, that's one thing that I would reform in this business is looking more at the net and the residual and helping my borrowers understand that.
Yeah, an actual usable income, right? Because that is tricky, and I will see people that can qualify, and even on a VA loan, sometimes you qualify for more than half of your take-home income. I mean, up to 60%.
Or 68's my highest I've ever gone.
I was going to say, I think we've seen 63 here, so it's whoa.
Of gross income.
And that can, like we were saying, when there's a need for housing or a need, you're raising a family or whatever,
I think we better explain that a little bit more to the people that are listening. Having a file that goes above 60% of your gross monthly income, this isn't reckless spending or reckless lending. Sorry, not spending, but lending. Rather, it's there are those situations where somebody's needing to go non-contingent, meaning they don't want to tell the seller that they have to sell their house first before they can go in and buy this new one.
Right.
And those are some of those examples on where those debt to income ratios might go through the roof.
You're counting maybe more than one mortgage payment on that, getting them approved now, when in reality,
they're going to sell that
more
house.
Like a 40%.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. Yeah. That's a good call out, not to say we're out here doing, more subprime action going on.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll get to wrapping this up, but what are you looking forward to? We're going into fall here. I just made a mistake on our last podcast. September 22nd was our fall solstice. So summer's over, fall. Yeah. We're still helping buyers, and that's still exciting. What are you looking forward to going into the winter here or into the fall here? And
maybe just some clarity. We have an election year coming up. As we're all aware, it's going to be an interesting year. Every day I just go into the office doing what I do. I would like to get back to that point where I can, with a high degree of precision, tell my, inform my customers on what I think, rates are going to do. I miss having that sort of vision.
Well, and that was a real thing to be. You could be a guideline guru, a market guru. There's a couple different types of proficiencies in this business, and you can have more than one. And I always admired my dad for watching charts and knowing that, and I would do that too. And like we were kind of alluding to, it just gets ever frustrating lately.
Yeah.
And yeah, that would be nice to have some confidence on just to have a longer amount of visibility.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's about it. I appreciate you having me in, and
Great. Well, I will leave a little contact information. If anyone wants to get a hold of you, they can.
Appreciate it.
And or you can just message us on the podcast. And this is officially podcast number 11. Thanks so much for being on, and we'll talk to you next time.
Thanks, Jeff.
All right.